So we'll just say good morning, One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. And I have a song by Gary Lynn Floyd, and I'm gonna share with you this morning. It's called Stronger Than Ever. And I thought it fit perfectly with I'm gonna have to mute Betty in a second with our theme of doubt. So here we go. Can y'all hear it?
Yes. Storm clouds come circle me again. Dark, steady rain on my horizon. I have weathered you before, I will weather you again. Stronger than ever, no, never alone. Stronger than ever, my look how I've grown. Lifted in every endeavor, stronger than ever. No teardrop, no howling winter wind could ever throw me off my journey. I will walk without a fear past the wolf at my front door. Stronger than ever, no, never alone. Stronger than ever, my look how I've grown. Lifted in every endeavor. When I look back on all I've done, everything I've lost or won, it all fades into the glory of my never-ending story. Stronger than ever, no, never alone. Stronger than ever, my look how I've grown. Lifted in every endeavor. Stronger than ever, no, never alone. Stronger than ever, my look how I've grown. Lifted in every endeavor, stronger than ever. Stronger than ever. Stronger than ever. Stronger than ever.
Stronger than ever. Kind of fits with our idea of walking through doubt into something new. So I thought I'd share that. Okay, Lisa, I unmuted you. And oops, let me do it again. There you go. Oops. Okay, there
Okay,
you go.
I'll leave it alone.
We're both muting and unmuting you.
Yes, no.
Rapid succession. Well, Lisa, obviously, Lisa is our practitioner today. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Well, I know I tell you this topic was very interesting to me, and I went all over the place in terms of looking at it, in terms of the definition, and then starting out just in the world and this sense that with the political rhetoric and the
anger and fear and all the stuff that's going on around us, that doubt is just a constant companion, that we're constantly being told things that we're supposed to believe. And there's so many of them that it's then easy to begin to deny them all. And I think the same thing happens to us spiritually at times, that it's like we have the messages, but we don't see it necessarily in our life because we're not looking for it, for one thing, and because we're not paying attention to spiritual law. And then the thing is that I moved from doubt kind of in general into self-doubt, because I think that that is one of the pieces that, as a spiritual person, for me anyway, sometimes becomes very, very difficult. And in terms of remembering who we are. I mean, if we really seek to embody what we say we believe, we are pieces of God. So how can there be anything wrong with us? How can we judge ourselves? How can we be unkind to ourselves? And then there are all the behaviors that demonstrate our self-doubt that are destructive to us. You know, it's kind of like self-sabotage and perfectionism and overachieving and procrastination and all the things that prohibit us from fulfilling our life mission, which is to be as whole as we possibly can, you know, is to emerge as these pieces of God in a human body, but playing God's role on earth, so to speak. And those are the things that we say we believe, and we allow doubt sometimes to cripple us. And I think that it's so valuable to be able to look at it. And I know Reverend Michelle is going to take us deeper into that. And I think that it's something that is so important for us to look at in these times. And because of the fact that I know as a group, we're all seeking that higher space. We're all seeking that way to be who we're meant to be in the world, and not to deny ourselves. And so anyway, that's what I have to say about doubt. I'm going to let Reverend Michelle take the lead on this topic. So why don't we take a moment to pray? And so as we breathe together on this beautiful California day, I am wanting to speak my word. I speak my word for each and every person who ever hears this call, that you are a divine being, that you have all the potential in the world. It's already been gifted to you, and that it's possible for you to come into the connection with it that allows you to manifest it in your life, and to bring, by virtue of your own co-creative process with the power that is endless, to bring joy, peace, love, energy, all sorts of things into the world and into your life, and to create that peace on earth coming from the peace and joy that is within each and every one of us, just waiting to be brought into the world. And so I know for each person here that this topic of doubt will reach them in one way or another and enable the next step in their own personal spiritual path that allows each of us to be the God self, the human self that we were put on the planet to be. And so I'm going to release my word with a great deal of thanksgiving, knowing that it is done and that each of you receives a blessing from this call and carries it on into your life and into the world. And so I release my word, and we release it together by saying, and so it is. So it is.
That was incredibly powerful, Lissa.
Thank you.
I felt that.
Our affirmation: I trust the quiet unfolding of the divine presence. I welcome the new expression of life moving through me. I say yes to fresh possibilities, new growth, and deeper truth. I am renewed, I am ready, and I walk forward in faith. And so it is.
So it is.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one, right?
Yeah.
I like that too. That one was inspired. Oh, okay. So I have some more music. Let me get that up. This is our old friend Karen, who we all love so much. And again, she's kind of the gold standard for New Thought. Again, it's just going to be music, no video for this one.
I trust that I got this. I know that I know I've got all that I need, so it's time to let it go. I'm through with complaining, living life small. Every emotion, I wanna feel them all. I've spent too much time censoring who I am. I am open, I am willing, I am feeling free and clear. Finally, I'm seeing I am worthy to be here. I am here. I am here to be here. I am present. I let it all be. I have uncovered the truth about me. The veil has been lifted that always kept me apart. No longer hiding, I'm ready to start. I step into my power and trust my heart. I am open, I am willing, I am feeling free and clear. Finally, I'm seeing I am worthy to be here. I am here. I am here to be here. No place I would rather be. It's time I let the whole world see. This brilliant light that shines through me is who I am, who I really am. I am ready, I am moving, I let go of all my fear. Finally, I know I am enough. I am open, I am willing, I am feeling free and clear. Finally, I'm seeing I am worthy to be here. To be here. I am here. I am here. I am here. I am here to be here. To be here. I'm here. I am here right now to be here. I am here. I am here. I am willing to be here. I am open. I am willing. I am feeling free and clear. I am open. I am willing. I am feeling free and clear to be here. I am here to be here. To be here. I am here. I am here to be here.
I just realized that the music that I selected today is all pretty reflective. It's a very kind of, but it's kind of an interesting topic, and I think it does take a little bit of reflection. So I guess that's what I was feeling. So, oh, my friends, so good to see all of your faces this morning, and once again, I think I'm going to put us on speaker view for the recording. And, as always, I just want to say good morning to everybody. Good morning. And whether you're here in real time or you're watching the replay, I just always want to offer you just a heartfelt welcome. I love seeing your faces on here. And welcome to May. Here we are in May already. I think of May as kind of this transitional month, because it's halfway between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. So it's kind of like right in the middle there. And and so we're almost to summer, but not quite, where we get to feel the whole fullness of the bounty of nature, but it's still spring. And the focus for the Sunday messages for May is also transitional. We're starting with this very human experience of doubt and how it can actually be a transition or a doorway to a greater embodiment of our divine nature. And as the month goes on, we'll walk through the ways that we can use this doorway of doubt to actively live our divine nature in our daily lives. How we can establish ourselves in the atmosphere of trust and faith, which makes doubt less a kind of a roadblock and more a road sign, just pointing our way. Hey, here's our choice point. I looked up the origin of the word doubt, which I love to do because it gives me some insight. But doubt is an interesting word. It comes from the Latin word dubitare, which means to waver or hesitate. But its origins go back even deeper than that. Its root comes from the word duo, meaning two. So doubt is about two-ness, being of two minds, which really shifts our understanding of doubt, not as something that we're doing wrong or something we have to get rid of, but as something that opens us up to that moment of choice, a moment when we're kind of standing in between, holding two possibilities at once, which means our doubt brings us to this really powerful moment of discernment and clarity where we can ask, what is my doubt telling me? Why is it here? And from this perspective, doubt becomes more like that threshold, like a doorway. It's an invitation to grow into some deeper understanding of what's possible right now in this moment. It's an opportunity to go from a divided mind to a single focused mind, focused on what is true in the mind of God. Ernest Holmes, our founder, gave us this same advice. He said, let us unify our thought with the one presence and the one power. And Jesus in Matthew 6, I think it was, said, it was so funny because I was driving home from the labyrinth yesterday with Gisela, and I was talking to her about this. She recited this particular passage in Matthew to me, and just out of the blue, which seemed very synchronistic. But anyway, the passage in Matthew is, if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Isn't that beautiful? To come into an alignment with a single focused mind with the divine presence that's in us. And from a metaphysical perspective, this makes perfect sense because the habitual patterns of our thoughts, which we talk about all the time, of our thoughts and our feelings, they create our state of being. And our state of being becomes our embodied identity, who we believe ourselves to be. And we demonstrate our life's experience from that embodied identity. So if we're single-minded and focused on our divine identity, then we'll demonstrate things that are in harmony with divine good, which is much better than demonstrating them only from our human identity. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And, but we don't want to be demonstrating things that arise from our human concerns and our worries, and this makes our moment of doubt really moments of clarification and choice, moments of life's continued unfolding. It can be a very powerful place to be, to hold two possibilities in our hands and decide in our heart which we want to choose. And I think, and I had to remind myself as I was doing the talk, because doubt seems so separate from God. And I thought, no, it's important for us to remember the fundamental spiritual principle of oneness, that there's only one life, even in our moments of two-mindedness. There's still only one life present, one intelligence, one presence expressing itself. So even in our experience of doubt, even when we are in that divided or two-sided mind, we are doing it. That is happening within the activity of the one life, within the activity of divine mind, which makes doubt it just makes it part of our unfolding awareness, bringing us into greater clarity. Doubt is revealing where we're out of alignment with divine nature. When we're momentarily believing something less than the truth of who we are. And in that way, doubt becomes this incredibly useful experience, not something to push away, not something to resist, because we know what we resist persists, but something to listen to. Hey, doubt, what are you trying to tell me now? Listening to doubt rather than resisting and ignoring it. And it feels more honest to me to actually listen to our doubts. It feels like I'm not trying to cover it up or gloss over it. It helps us to get our thoughts and our choices and our actions in alignment with our divine nature. We don't have to feel caught between two competing realities. It was what Lissa was talking about. Sometimes we do feel that way, especially when we look at what's going on around us in the world right now. But our doubt reminds us that there's only one. There's only one. And that we have creative agency to consciously choose. There's the moment. What a precious place to be in that moment of choice. And doubt is not a failing, it's just a habit. But we can feel it, I'm sure you've all felt how it creeps in, just as Lissa said again. It's like that. It's like a subtle friction that we've become familiar with. It's that quiet hesitation that might pop up after we set an intention or we have an imagined desire, after we're doing our spiritual mind treatment, and most of the time we're not even really aware of it. It's so subtle, it just feels like a slight contraction. I always remember the moment, Marcia, you'll remember this, when you said, I can't even remember what we were talking about, that one feels like expansion and one feels like contraction. Well, doubt feels a little bit like contraction, but it asks the question, is this true? We get to examine it. You felt that moment when the question pops up, is this realistic? Is this really possible for me? Or when you might think that you mistakenly think that, oh, I'm just being smart. I'm just analyzing. It's almost like that pause you take before you step off into the busy street off the curb, it just feels smart to take a moment to really examine this, And, in stepping off into traffic, it is smart, to think, keeps us safe. But in the larger context of our lives, in the atmosphere that we live from, how we live in the world, these hesitations can also keep us very limited, limiting us from experiencing, a truly free and joyous life. Because we know that our divine nature, that one life, is unbound and unlimited. And we're only bound by the limits that we think are possible for us. So if we're asking, is this really possible for us? In that moment of doubt, we can either say, absolutely, it's really possible for me, or we can cower and contract and go, oh no, maybe it's not possible. I mean, let's use some examples. Maybe you'd like to have a relationship with someone. You're looking for a life partner. And within seconds, your mind starts calculating the odds of whether that's really ever going to happen. Or you imagine financial freedom and abundance, and then immediately you start listing all the reasons why that really seems improbable. How is that really going to come about? It's that kind of automatic resistance that limits us from stepping into a larger life, and into our heart's desire. And again, it's not a character flaw. It's simply conditioning. We've made a conscious, and I should say not conscious, an unconscious habit of doubt, But we can also make a habit out of using those subtle moments, if we're aware of them, as a turning point, as a doorway into a greater expression of life, of our gifts, of our desires, and to align with what Jesus called that single focus, that single-minded focus, to identify, to self-identify with who we are in our oneness with God, and with our powerful ability to clearly choose, with clarification. Is this what I want to choose? And then we co-create these really joyous and fulfilling lives. You know, I know, and we talked about this last Tuesday at our Tuesday class, and it reminded me of it as I was putting together today's message. But there's something within each of us that is always seeking to express, always seeking to unfold and to become. The very nature of life is to have desires and preferences and to express ourselves in our unique, particular way, right? To express the gifts that we've come here to give, to be the light in our unique and particular way. And of course, not every desire that we have is coming from that place. Some are learned, some are protective, and some are just noise. But there's also, and this is what we were talking about the other night, there's these long felt, long held desires that tend to rise up from a deeper place. They're quieter, they're steadier, and they kind of carry a different kind of knowing. you know I bet you know what I'm talking about. It's often something that we felt since childhood, but it's really just a seed, right? It's like a seed. I'll give you an example. It's like an acorn, always knowing that its potential is to become a mighty oak, right? It doesn't compare itself to other trees or question whether or not it's worthy. It simply unfolds according to its nature. There's an intelligent pattern already within the acorn, and it just always has to be. And I believe that that's already there within us. It's the same idea for us, that we all have some seed of who we are and who we're meant to be, and that we can let that flow. And when the doubts come up, we can use them as those clarifying moments, that to decide, am I going to stay in this limited, stuck place, or am I going to believe that this is possible for me? We have desires within us that aren't random. They're the imprint of something that's waiting to come into form through us. We can call it a purpose, which was the chapter, I believe, that we were talking about last Tuesday. We could call it a calling, life expressing itself uniquely as us. But here's where it gets really human, because just as that big impulse begins to move, doubt shows up, not as an enemy, not as something to be afraid of, but as a moment of choice, a moment where the mind kind of splits into the two, and one voice is remembering what's possible, and the other is trying to keep us safe in the familiar, doubt does not like change. It limits our joy, but spirit, life, it wants to soar, to live in that moment of possibility and just let it flow through us. So in that moment where doubt shows up, we get to choose. Now we don't force doubt away. We recognize it and that it's a signal that we're standing on the edge of something good. We're standing on the edge of growth. It's a doorway. And we can either turn back to the familiar or we can take one small step in the direction of what is trying to emerge. Because what's true at the deepest level of our being is what's meant to unfold through us. But it needs our choice, and it needs our willingness, and it needs our participation. It needs our quiet but steady and consistent yes. I bet you all know what I'm talking about and have all experienced it at one time or another. It's those big it's those big life moments that happen in small little ways, as conscious creators. We know that it's important to remember that doubt isn't something happening just in our thoughts because we feel it in our body, right? Don't you feel it when I'm creating something new and there's resistance? I can actually feel it in my body. I know we all probably can, it just happens. It's almost it's a sensation almost. Um, so anyway, I have a story. I'm going to see if I can find my story. I'm going to take a breath because I've been talking really fast. Oh, so the way that we feel doubt in our body, um, really does kind of throw us for a loop sometimes. I know it does for me. I'm like, is this really something that I need to pay attention to? Is this really something that I need to give my full awareness to in that inner atmosphere? Or is it something that I can draw into my conscious awareness the feeling of peace and the feeling that I want to express? What's really true here? I'm very big on like active listening in these moments when I kind of feel like I'm moving into something that's just habituated as a familiar state. In Science of Mind, we understand that it's not thought alone that creates, and it's not feeling alone that creates. It's kind of the union of the two that create our state of being. Thought kind of sets the direction, and feeling kind of gives it its depth. And together they form this state of consciousness that we live from, and that state impresses creative law. And here's the thing, no amount of surface level positive affirmations can override a state of being that still feels divided, that we're still feeling angst in our body. If we are trying to live in a divided mind in two worlds, it's just wishy-washy. The law doesn't know what to do with it. We have to engage with our doubts, and then we have to choose. Here's the story. The story is about a traveler who was walking down a long road, and he came on this stretch of road where there was this great big, it was all the way across the road. It was just this deep mud pit. It was just filled with this thick, messy, and uncomfortable mud. And his first instinct was just to totally avoid it, just like we do with doubt. So he steps off the road, he goes out into the brush, and he tries to go around it. But the more he avoids it, the more he gets tangled up in the bushes, and he's walking on this rough and difficult terrain. He keeps running into dead ends. And eventually he goes back to the road. He's exhausted, and he returns to the road, and he stands there in front of the big mud pit, and he decides that he's going to walk straight through it. And yes, it was messy, and each step took a lot of effort, but he found that there was actually some solid earth beneath the mud. And as he faced his fears and the muddy messiness of it all, he started moving forward again. And the road didn't become possible because he avoided it. It became possible or passable, I guess I should say, because he faced his doubts, he faced his fears, and he made a choice and he walked straight through them. One conscious step at a time. And this is what doubt, this is how we can engage with doubt. His doubt became his way forward. He stood at the edge of something greater than the mud and said, I'm going for it. I'll walk through the mud. And in this way, doubt just becomes that really a sacred doorway. It shows us the places where we've forgotten who we are. It's an invitation to kind of re-anchor ourselves in our own divine identity and to allow peace to become more familiar than fear and to allow wholeness to be more real than lack, or love more natural than self-protection. And that shift happens, and then our experience begins to take shape, because we know consciousness always precedes form. So when we're in that moment and we choose the highest, that anything is possible, then we don't negate doubt, but we realign with the truth. So, the next time you notice doubt, don't push it away until later. Don't wait until it's more convenient to deal with it. But right in the moment, just pause. Don't try to fix it or to argue with it. Just walk through the mud. Just become aware of it and, just gently ask yourself, what do I really believe? What state of being, what quality of God do I want to choose here? Maybe it's trust, maybe it's openness, maybe it's just a simple feeling of I'm willing, and we don't have to make these huge leaps all at once. Just take one step. Because I don't know about you, but my experience has been that transformation doesn't come in just one grand moment. Transformation usually comes in small, conscious shifts that I repeat over and over again until it becomes a new state of being, until it becomes familiar. And eventually I know that this is who I am. I reestablished myself in that divine identity. And there's one more layer of doubt, which Lissa alluded to in her opening, that I want to talk about. And that's a layer of doubt that lives not just within us individually, but lives among us collectively. It's that kind of quiet, shared assumption that the world will never really change. That peace is a beautiful idea, but not very realistic. And over time, that assumption becomes a kind of collective atmosphere, a learned helplessness, kind of a subtle giving up. Not in dramatic ways, but as I was saying, in just small ways. Familiar thoughts start bubbling up. That's just the way things are. Nothing I do will really make a difference. But if we truly understand and know that consciousness is creative, consciousness precedes form, first individually and then collectively, then we also have to be willing to honestly look at what we're contributing. Because a divided, fearful, or resigned individual consciousness contributes to the collective consciousness, and it will tend to reproduce the very conditions that it expects. And, as we know in science mind, this isn't punishment. It's just a habitual pattern. And this is where our individual work becomes deeply meaningful, because each of us is not separate from the whole. We're expressions of it. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is my life now. And every time we meet life from a state of fear or a resignation, we contribute to the collective field. But every time we anchor ourselves in clarity, in compassion, into the deep knowing that peace is not only possible, but is natural to the human condition, to our divine nature, which we can express in our humanity, then we're participating in establishing a new collective pattern. And of course, this doesn't mean that we ignore what's happening in the world. It doesn't mean we pretend everything is fine. It means we refuse to let our inner state be dictated by appearances. It means we become intentional about what we contribute to the collective consciousness. And this is not some abstract idea that doesn't affect us. It has a very real impact on all of us. So we ask ourselves, am I adding to the collective noise of doubt and fear, or am I a steady presence of peace? This is the doorway. The doubt opens up for us because even our doubt about the world can be met consciously. We can notice it, we can name it, we can choose it. Gently, but intentionally, we can return again and again to the deeper truth that peace is not something we're waiting for the world to create. It's something the world is waiting for us all to embody. Because what we embody, who we believe we are, our spiritual identity is what expresses in the world. And so we move into this week and into this month, and knowing that we don't have to eliminate doubt from our lives, we simply have to meet it differently, not as something we fear, but as something we walk through consciously with a deeper awareness, because every moment of doubt is really just a moment of decision, a moment of choice, a moment where we can remember or forget. A moment where we can turn back to the familiar, or we can take a small step into something greater. And no, we don't have to do it perfectly, but we have to be willing, and we have to be consistent, and we have to do it in the moment. One choice, one shift at a time. And as we do that, something begins to change. Not just in our own experience, but in the world, in everything that we see around us. And from that place, we not only create these wonderful, fabulous individual lives, but we create a world of peace, a presence, a stability that doesn't depend on circumstances, but on the divine reality that there is only one presence, one power, living and moving and expressing as us. And so it is. So let's take a moment to ground ourselves in that one life, knowing that there is only one life and it is all good. Everything that happens within the activity of this divine mind is bringing us towards a greater expression of love, a greater expression of our own divinity. So we embrace doubt as a fantastic moment of inspiration and choice. And we use it to the best of our ability to create something new and fabulous that is already true. It's true within, and we express it without. So I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for this time together. I'm grateful for this moment of clarity. I'm grateful for this moment of inspiration and unity and wholeness. And so I just relax in that. In the rest, in the pause, transformation happens. And together we say, and so it is. And so it is. All righty then. So, Relaine, happy birthday, Relaine, wherever you are, was supposed to be doing our benediction today. But she texted me and said that she and her husband were going to go and do something fabulous for her birthday. And so I said, not a problem. I will handle it. So let's see. I don't believe I have up I don't think I opened my affirmation. By this time, glasses might be in order here. I think we all know our ways to give, that we can either give on Venmo or we can send a check to my address, which if you don't have it, you can always text me and I'll give it to you. So, but I think most of you probably have it. So I'm not going to put it up on the screen. but I am going to put the affirmation on the screen. And here it is. So just imagine that, however you're giving, just imagine that you're holding it in your hand over your heart and feel these words as I say them. I give with a grateful heart, knowing that spirit is the source and the supply, or the source and the substance of all supply. It's everything. I joyously participate in the circulation of abundance. My offering blesses the world and it returns to me multiplied. I am grateful and I am prosperous, and so it is. And so it is. And as far as announcements, we'll have our Monday evening. So Gisela told me that the California gubernatorial um, uh, debate is going to be televised on CNN on Tuesday. Did anybody else hear that? No, I kind of like to watch it, but I don't know that that's really true. So let me figure that out first. And then, because I don't know about you, but I have no idea who I want to vote for at this point. I'm like really kind of confused. So I'd love to see them speak. So, and I think it's an important election. So, stand by for a yay or a nay on Tuesday evening. Okay. All right. Um, and let's see, what else is going on? Let's see, this is the first Wednesday of the month. So that means that Relaine will be doing her Wednesday morning prayer group at 10 o'clock. Isn't this the first? Yes, this is the first because today's the 3rd of May. So we'll look forward to that. And then June, first Sunday of June, will be at home, just as a reminder. That's always fun to see everybody in person and to share our Sunday service with them. And I think that's about it. So I'm going to do a quick benediction, and then I have some music, some closing music, which again, it's a little bit reflective and it brings us inward, but I guess that's just the way the service is today. So let's take a breath and let's just feel gratitude together because that's how I'm feeling. Let's hold gratitude. Gratitude is such joy. It's such, oh my gosh, I'm so blessed. And I give just great thanks. I'm so grateful for Lisa's beautiful introduction. That prayer she gave was just dynamite. She's so wise. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm grateful for all of you for being here. I'm grateful for anybody that listens to the replay. I'm grateful for all of our beautiful One Heart, One Mind friends. I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for the opportunity to see with clarity into the face of doubt and know that I am at choice, that I am at that crossroads, that place in the woods that Robert Frost talks about, where two roads diverge and we get to choose. So grateful. I'm so grateful for all of you. I just sit in that gratitude, knowing that it is causal to more and more and more good. I know it for myself. I know it for all of you. I know it for the world. And there we rest and we say together, and so it is. And there we go. So I have one more song. It's kind of long. I'm thinking maybe I won't play the whole thing, but maybe we'll see. So I'm gonna share just so you can see this guy because he's kind of, oh, wait, I didn't mean to share that. I wanted you to see this guy because he's kind of an interesting looking musician. I've never played anything by him before, but I ran across it and I thought, this guy is cool. So, so I'm gonna share it with you. He is really kind of cool. So here we go.
She agrees I can work.
Sorry, guys. That is not what I meant to do. We built a $49 All right. I'm just going to turn the sound off while I get this to. I had it all queued up and I hit something wrong, so my bad. Here we go. Now. Let's try it again. Sound on. That's shared. Here we go. I got a reggae vibe.
You don't have to keep moving. Not everything needs your effort. Let your spirit be still. You've been carrying the moment like it won't let you rest. Every thought keeps on turning inside your chest, trying to hold it together, trying not to slow down. But the more that you push it, the louder the sound. There's a calm beneath the surface that you've barely touched, where nothing needs to happen and nothing feels rushed. You don't have to fix the silence, you don't have to understand. There's a peace in letting go now, right here where you stand. Let your spirit be still. Let the noise fall away. Let the weight you've been holding fade into the day. You don't have to keep going, you don't have to fulfill every pressure around you. Let your spirit be still. Feel your breathing getting slower, feel your body release. There's no tension left to carry, only quiet, only peace. You don't need to chase the moment, you don't need to control. There's a strength in just existing, in the calm of your soul. Let your spirit be still. Let it settle inside. Let the world keep on turning while you soften your stride. You can rest in the silence, you don't have to be strong. There's a peace in the stillness where you've been all along. Oh, oh. Not everything needs movement, not everything needs sound. Some things are meant to settle when the quiet is found. Let it hold you without effort, let it soften your will. There's a truth in the stillness when your spirit is still. Let your spirit be still. Let it carry you slow. Let it quiet your breathing. Let it help you let go. You don't have to find answers, you don't have to fulfill your spirit is still. Nothing is required of you right now. Just be still.
I like this guy. I don't even know what his name is. I just ran across it with this guy is cool. Oh, my friends, I'm going to stop the recording.